it's actually fair to say that the working session is probably the number one most effective thing we can do as information workers. If we have any situation where you have one discipline or one specialization handing over to another discipline or specialization, you're going to have a situation where you have two different styles of brain at play, right? The one that I know about the most is the handoff between product and engineering. So the product manager is very, very busy with lots and lots of engagements and facing off to lots of different types of people. They could be facing off to the C-suite. They could be facing off to customers. More often than not, they are facing off to customers as well. They may be facing off to sales, kind of having a lot of contention between what sales has discovered that customers need, and also just basically trying to figure out what's going on with existing work that's supposed to get delivered. On the other hand, engineering is focused on another set or a range of things. They're focused on a lot of the bugs that they or prior developers have caused in the system. They might be dealing with second line, third line escalation of those bugs. They're dealing with trying to figure out how long the next project is going to take. They're dealing with architecting that next bit of work. There's a lot of other tooling that goes on beneath the iceberg of engineering, in terms of, there could be intermittent infrastructure problems that are really, really hard to track down that, could potentially bring down the system, and kind of really cause a lot of financial harm to a company. So these types of things are haunting engineers as well. Not to mention the actual implementation of features, and implementing things in a way that reflects what the business wants or needs, and getting clarity on what those mean. Because when an engineer or engineers go to actually implement a feature, there are a lot of questions that come up that are very hard to address prior to implementing. So you have a situation where there are two different professionals or sets of professionals focused on very different things, using different kind of parts of their minds too. Because if you think about it, a product manager is very person focused, very workflow focused, very product focused, by virtue of being a product manager. And engineering is very technology focused, focused on the underlying technology you use to actually deliver on the product ideas and product requests from product. And really the best way to merge these two so that you get some good flow, you get some product out the door, is the working session. There was once a product manager on a team I was with that said the real work happens in the calls. And I would agree with that. I think the real most intense work happens when product and engineering are together and figuring out what is possible, right? Figuring out what's missing in a specification, what's contradictory, what's maybe too big, or what did the product manager consider was too big, what was actually too small, and the engineering team actually has more capability to deliver more than the product would have otherwise known. And so product and engineering really do need to be together. They need to have a lot of almost deep alignment. I was going to say intimate sessions, but deep alignment on what's going to be built and how it's going to be built. There are a lot of times situations where engineering will push back too much and say, we shouldn't be building X, we should be building Y. My opinion would be that ultimately product does have the call on that. I think anybody that's been in the industry long enough knows that those who are speaking with the users are the ones that are in charge of determining what goes first. They are the ones that are constantly looking for product market fit in their existing market or in future markets, and are trying to go to market with additional features. And so product really does dominate that field, and necessarily so. What engineering can do is offer product insight in terms of how complex something would be, and based on the complexity, offer alternative, maybe roadmaps to get to to feature parity, or to get to the feature set or feature robustness that product is looking for. So this really does happen in two types of meetings, possibly three. The one is pre-refinement, where product is coming to engineering or engineering leadership to figure out the viability of a thing, and really spending the necessary amount of time to walk through that and really get deep alignment there with engineering leadership. And engineering leadership needs to have the wherewithal to be listening very, very closely to these specifications and offering a variety of possible solutions, and articulating the pros and cons to these solutions. So without this kind of deep alignment, you basically make a lot of assumptions that you don't need to make. You basically lose out on some efficiencies you could be gaining, and you basically miss some specification that you really should have in order to make development basically fly by, rather than just get stagnated in ambiguity and chasing up on details and that sort of a thing. The other type is refinement. So there's the pre-refinement and then there's refinement. Refinement is when there's a larger group of engineers on the call going over the stories that were basically initially painted in pre-refinement. And this is a situation where the engineering team can combine their collective brainpower to weigh in on the viability of the tasks, and also, by virtue of doing that, also ask questions to try to figure out where there might be gaps or contradictions in the requirements, or also, again, in figuring out how to sequence the build. And also, it's another opportunity to figure out where you can deliver some real product value without necessarily doing the entire product initiative, right? So basically, you're always looking for increments of work. You're looking for increments of work when you're doing roadmap development. You're doing increments of work. You're looking for increments of work when you're doing pre-refinement, and you're looking for increments of work at refinement, so that finally you can kind of meter this work into sprints or Kanban, and start getting this stuff to market.